In a previous video, I showed formatting the exported Word doc that was exported from an inaccessible PDF, and I tried to work within the formatting that also got exported. And then there was a lot of formatting issues, and then I basically was showing all the problems that arise with that. This video approaches it a different way with let's deal with the formatting by basically getting rid of all of the original formatting, but keeping all the text and math content. And so this is basically an alternative method that I think was a little bit less of a headache, although it's still going to be a lot of work. So just copying, if we just select everything, so let's just select, I did all the math on the first page and fixed all that. So I'm going to just copy this first page. Let's see what happens if I just paste it in a new document. The reason this doesn't work out is because this will actually do some weird formatting things. I still have all the column issues, so that's not ideal. But I have it copied on my clipboard right now. I'm going to try doing something like paste special with unformatted text. And I want to point out something here. When I do this paste special with unformatted text, it brings in everything without the formatting issues. So it brought in all of the text, but it gets rid of the equations. And it would get rid of all the images too. Now that's a problem. We need those. So the way we work around that is by using the tech commands that we had previously in the previous document. So looking at my document here, I fixed all the math on this first page. It's all good. But I can't just copy this. So one of the things you can do is highlight everything that we want to copy, and you can hit Alt / or toggle tech. So toggle the tech button up here in your math type. Oh, there we go. And then I'm going to toggle the tech. And so this is going to take us back to the text, which is the tech commands. So this went ahead, we have some looks like some weird kind of issues here, but we'll see how this does. I'm going to copy this so I'm going to copy it, actually, now that it's all in tech, I'm going to copy this first page, and then I'm going to go to my new document, and I'm going to paste special. And so the paste special, I think I've shown it before, but I find it in mine is the paste, and then a drop down to paste special, and I'm going to do unformatted text. And then what it brings in is all of the text and some of the spacing, none of the actual formatting, and then it brings in the text. So now I'm going to highlight all my text and go to math type and toggle tech. And then a few moments later, depends on the length of the document, it's going to go through and it's going to convert everything back to tech. And we have some spacing issues, or back to math type. But what's nice is everything that was math got brought in. So I was able to copy all of my information without the formatting. And now I can do whatever I want to do with formatting. I'm going to just delete the name and date and all that. I could change that if I wanted to. But for right now, just for the demonstration's sake, I'm just going to keep the heading 1 of my title here. You could put name and date somewhere if you want. I have this 1 and this A, but those are not accessible. Those aren't lists, and I still have some spacing issues. So I need, if there's extra spaces, I need to get rid of them. And then I need to work with my lists. And so now it's a matter of deleting, and unlike the last video where I tried to work with this massive amount of formatting that was really difficult to work with, it's actually not too bad. So I'm just trying to get everything back on together. So I'm just deleting things. It's all very apparent where everything is at. And then I have my list here. So if I now bring this into where I want it to be an actual 1, 2, 3 list with sub A, B, C, D, it's now a list, populated as a list. And then I can do some formatting things with paragraph. I like to take away that don't add space. I like to uncheck that because I do like a little space between my A, B, C, Ds in here. And so that first page, I could add more space by changing how much I did 8 point. And so in the paragraph, it was 8 point. I could change that to be bigger if I wanted to. If I wanted the spacing for actual write-up and giving space to the student, I can do that and just change that without having to hit enter all the time. So you can play around with that. But it kept the big deal here is it kept the math, but it got rid of the formatting. And it took me far less time than when I was doing it the other way with trying to work within the formatting issue I had on the original exported document. So once you have the math, that toggle tech is extremely helpful. Now I'm back on my original exported document where I had changed all the math, but I have all these images. So to select the image, I'm going to select the first image and then hold Control and hit the second image and then hold Control again and get the third image. Now selecting all 3 images, from what I can tell, out of a messy document like this usually only works if they are formatted as like over text with this text wrapping. If you do it as inline text, if I change them all to inline text, it wasn't selecting them that way. So I can select these because they were wrapped over, and then if I do Control C and go to my other document. So if I just hit paste, then they look like they paste just fine, but we want them to actually be the proper format, which is not the over the text, but inline text. And that's going to allow us to do a list a lot easier. So I'm going to do all 3 of them as inline text, and they'll move around. That is typical. But I'm going to put a enter button in between. So I'm going to hit enter, and then I could change the order if I want to on them, but I'm going to just leave them as is. So I have my question 2, the text I had already brought in, is fine. It's a list, but I want to make these graphics, these 3 graphics, as part of a list. So I'm going to, there's a couple ways to do this. You could do this and then hit the A, B, C list, or you could type A and then just a couple spaces and it starts building the list. And you can treat the graphics a little bit like text. So if I were to bring it back up and then hit enter, it will automatically start creating that list. So same with the third image. If I go back to it and I hit backspace and then enter, it created that this is part C. Where you want the student to answer this is at this point up to you. I like that the actual A, B, C bullet list contains the images, because then the student is jumping straight to the images and not some blank answer key portion. Now the images still need the alt text. The alt text would require possibly a lot more research, and the alt text will take time because these are images for assessment purposes. So you need to describe the image without giving away the answer, and there's a whole other set of videos for that. And you would just right click and format and do the alt text and enter in the description for the images. So in terms of the document, it is not finished. I did not change all the math or anything on the last about 3-4 pages of this document. There's a lot going on. This export did a lot of weird stuff later on. I would have to actually look at the original document. It might even be worth maybe even going back to the PDF and selecting items using either MathPix or Equatio that way. So it would still take some time going through all this. The math is the most time-consuming portion of it. But in terms of formatting, the formatting is kind of the same theme throughout the rest of the document to the new one I was creating. So some of the main ideas covered in this video is toggling the tech to copy and paste as text only to not have all that formatting issues. Then dealing with the spacing and the headers and formatting it the way we want, and also the lists, bringing the lists in appropriately. Copying images and formatting those copied images in the inline text so that way we could work with it. And then also creating lists as needed for that, and then putting in image description. So these are some of the key components of what would happen to help finish making an originally inaccessible PDF document into an accessible document on Word.